मूर्ति वेदविभागिनी
व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये
दक्षिणामूर्तये
नमः। ॐ
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः
शान्ति।
शान्तिः
So,
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः
Harihi Om.
तत्सत्
So, in the last paragraph, which is, I mean, it's not numbered, but we are presuming they are numbered. So, because we are moving from one paragraph, they are called Gadya Khandas. Or now, what is the Adhikari is discussing? Hmm? So, in the paragraph 5, while discussing who is eligible, what are the qualifications for somebody to take up Vedanta Adhyayana, because I'm not mentioning Vedanta Sara Pustaka, because he made it very clear that because this is all about summarizing the main messages of Vedanta, therefore I'm not separately discussing Anubandha Chatushtaya for this book, but I'm just repeating, summarizing, and sharing with you whatever is the sadhana chatushtaya as the qualifications. We're talking about the adhikara. See, adhikara, the vishaya prayojana adhikara, adhikari and sambandha, this anubandha chatushtaya, he's saying this is same as for the Vedanta Sastras that we have discussed yesterday. Now he's discussing the first one, which is Adhikari, that we did yesterday. What did he say? Adhikari tu vidhivat adhita veda vedangatvena apatataha adhigata akhila vedartha asmini janmani janmantareva kamya nisiddha varjana purasharam nitya naimittika प्रायश्चित उपासनानुष्ठानेन निर्गत निखिलकलमसतया नितांत निर्मल स्वान्तः sadhana chatushtaya sampanna pramata. So he said that a person who is qualified, who has studied the Vedas along with the Vedangas. This also kind of indicates the historical setting in which most likely uh, the people who are sort of those who are doing Veda Adhyayanas, they were very particular, and they used to go to the acharyas, and not like these days where you do not have these Ved Pathsalas in great numbers. People are also using the internet and going to schools, colleges, often reading English translations or Hindi translations, not getting into Sanskrit is very difficult. But there are these six angas, hmm, six limbs of the Vedas, which makes Vedic chanting easy, comprehensible. But be very honest about it. Many of the people are not well versed with all these Vedangas, except for the Vedic scholars or very serious students who are dedicated. Otherwise, not too many people are being able to do it. These are Shiksha, about phonetics, and Chanda, the meters, prosody, Nirukta, etymology, Vyakarana, grammar, and then you have Jyotisha, astronomy, and Kalapa, the rituals, the Vedic rituals. So these are the six sanghas. So these people would also learn, because unless you have Shiksha, which is phonetics, you would not be able to chant Vedas properly. Similarly, you might read the Vedas, but if you have no knowledge of how the rituals are done, you will not be able to apply your knowledge about them. You will not be able to execute it. It's like purely theoretical. You don't know how to apply it. And that's what is the case with many of us, very honestly, who are studying Vedanta, because the examples are given once in a while, referring to different rituals, different instrumentalities, and we just do not know what it means, because we are not doing those rituals anymore. The Vedic religion is perhaps not, I mean, to be very honest, no one is observing. What we observe, what we know as today Sanatana Dharma is essentially agamic Hinduism or agamic Sanatana Dharma, based on the Puranas, mostly Upasanatmaka, mostly about pujas and upasanas, not the Vedic rituals. So they have become extinct. We got to keep that in mind and not crib about these things. Then Nirukta, and somebody wants to get into the hidden meaning of the Vedas and make proper academic um, analysis, he needs to get into Nirukta, because there, how the words are formed, where from they are coming, that is discussed. Then you have Vyakarna, the rules. Many of the Panini Sutras are also about Vedic, about the Vedic literature. So that you would study the sutras relating to them. Vyakarna, Nirukta, and Shiksha and Kalpa you have done. Then you have Jyotisha. Jyotisha is all about astronomy, because you have to predict the tithis and stuff like that, and that's also considered to be very, very important. And then what else? Chanda, meters, how to recite. So you'd also do it. Now he's saying, by reading all that and the Vedartha. Vedartha, does it mean that the scholars differ on this? If you are interested in Vedanta, would you be spending all your life studying the Vedas? So Vedartha, the main commentators, would like to conclude that Vedartha here would mean Vedanta. But I would personally have a bit of a problem with that kind of an interpretation. Because to understand Vedanta very honestly, uh, perhaps you would not require, you need to learn grammar, but you perhaps would not. Nirukta is good, but the Kalpa Sutras and all, you may not be interested because you're not interested in Kriya Karma, the Karma Kandas. So Vedartha, perhaps in a very straightforward way, he's mentioning that a very good student of Vedanta would be one who has already perfected the Vedas, including the Karma Kandas. And that is why a lot of Western scholars, a lot of, very well established Western scholars believe that you cannot talk about Vedanta as radically different from the Karma Kanda Bhaga or the Mimamsa Bhaga. You have Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa is all about the Karma Kandas and rituals, inferring the meaning of Vedic injunctions in order for right execution of the Vedic rituals. That is Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa. How to make sense of the injunctions so that I can perform different rituals. Uttara Mimamsa, however, is a meditation in search of truth and for moksha and liberation. First part is for Swarga Prapti, that is the ultimate for them. Whereas for the second part, they are not interested in Swarga, they are interested in Atma Jnana, liberation, moksha, right? So that is the basic difference. Many of the scholars believe that it is actually a continuum. You cannot abandon the first part and make sense of the second part because it will not make any sense. Perhaps there is some truth in what they're saying, because without having done any karma kandas, without having gone through this rigor of studying Vedas and chanting and doing your nitya karmas and everything, anyway your antakarana suddhi is not happening. That is what he is going to say. Therefore, adhita, vidhivat adhita, and then you're aware. Adhigata sakala vedartha. Apatata, basically, broadly. You know what is the basic meaning of it. And then you want to meditate on what is the meaning of these Vedantic insights. Therefore, you will get into Upanishads and the Bhashyas and the commentaries. And this is a Prakarana Grantha. It's like a very good introduction for getting into it. It's like, they call it immersion. In corporate sector, you get into a job, there is an orientation program, and then 6 months immersion, something, probation, then you get into doing the job. Similarly, so he's saying the most interesting part is that for Antakarana Suddhi, he will explain it. So the key things which are mentioned here is Janmani Janmantareva. Because even Bhagavad Gita, if you remember, Bhagavan says that over different lives, When we achieve Suddha Antakarana, purity of mind, we become eligible for Jnana Yoga. Bhagavan has said that. That is broadly captured here. It need not be during the span of one lifetime, which is too short. It could be over different lives, and yet the benefits accrue to that particular Jivatma who progresses on a scale from a lot of clutter in his consciousness to a state where he is purer, open to the the truthfulness attitude that he has to cultivate, and open to the divine, get the grace, and you know ensure the engineering within, move towards a further ascension for embracing the divine, realizing the self. And how does that happen? What he must have all done? He's saying, Kamya Nisiddha Varjana Purasaram. So there is a bit of, you see, to get anything, you have to leave something. They say, कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ छोड़ना पड़ता है, कुछ देना पड़ता है. So it's like a give and take. What are the things you will need to give away? What are the things, like for example, we have a lot of habits in school. When we go to college, we drop a few activities, we add a few activities, and that's what is true about each phase of our life. When we leave something behind, we are going to another higher phase of experiencing life, in terms of jobs, in terms of one ashrama to another, from brahmacharya to grahyastha, from grahyastha to maybe vanaprastha. You are always leaving something and attaining something, including something in your life. And what are you going to leave? He's saying Kamya Nisiddha Varjana Purashara. So only by doing Nitya Karmas, we do good things, but there are certain bad things which you are doing. We have to get rid of them. Otherwise, these good things we are doing, it will become plus minus zero again. Therefore, we need to cut down on the debit side and add to the credit side of our spiritual sadhana. Therefore, two things we have to get rid of. One is nisiddha, pratisiddhas. Obviously, we will not do it. And what is and what is kamya? Kamya is what we do because we want to get swarga prapti. He would now describe each and every word he's summarizing in the last part of this particular paragraph. So kamya nisiddha varjana purasharam. So you do varjana of kamya and nisiddha. You would not have activities which are overloading your own sanskaras, because you want to be lighter. You want to be on the jhana path. That's number one. Number two is this nisiddha varjana. That also you have to leave. Bad things you have to leave, but good things also you have to leave. What? Which is counterproductive, which would put a few roadblocks on your path to spiritual sadhana. It's like you're going to the health club for physical exercise, but you have a presentation or you have an examination. That particular day, that 1 hour in the gym, you overlook it. You just don't go for it. Okay, I'll go it. I'll go there maybe after I'm done with my job. Lot of things you don't do. Now that you're preparing for a more subtler aspect of your conscious journey towards self-realization, you're moving away from externally oriented activities. And what are these? Kamya. Nishiddha is very bad, so you anyway don't do it, but you will describe also what is Nishiddha. What do you do it? You'll do Nitya karmas, Naimittika karmas. There are some nimittas that needs to be done, like a shraddha, this child is born, certain rituals have to be done. You describe that again. And Nitya is Sandhya Vandanadi every day, what you're supposed to do it, and Prayashchita. Because for Papa Upasamanartham, so there are some mistakes we have done, realizing or without realizing. But the load of these negative karmas are kind of proving to be sources of overwhelming guilt. We don't want to be face to face with that negativity which is trailing us. What we do some prayashchita karmas, fasting or some danam and stuff like that. And upasana is for what? For orienting your consciousness towards your goal. meditations. We'll discuss that. He himself is going to say that. And if we do these things, that means positively we'll do nitya naimitika karmas and prayಶ್ಚಿtta karmas. What we would not do is nisiddha and akamya. And then what happens? Nirgata nikhala kalamasateya. All the papas, kalmasas are moved away. So we feel lighter. They are moved away from our consciousness. Nitanta means atyanta. Nirmala swantaha, nirmala antakarana. The first thing is mind is become clean. And then what? You are sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha. He is adding this. Once you do this nitya naimitika and you also do upasanas, prayಶ್ಚಿtta karmas, and then other side you will not do kamya and nishiddha. After that you have to focus on sadhana chatushtaya as well. So he would explain it. So towards the last sentence, if you look at, he will first explain what are these karmas, what is kamya karma, what is nisiddha karma, what is nitya, what is naimitika. That he would describe in this particular paragraph, in two paragraphs, 6 and 7. So let's look at that paragraph now. The first paragraph, paragraph number 6. So he's explaining Kamyani Swargadi Ishta Sadhanani Jyotishthamadini Nisiddhani Narakadi Anishta Sadhanani Brahmana Hananadini Nityani Akarani Pratyavaya Sadhanani Sandhya Bandhanadini Naimittikani Putra Janamadi Anubandhini Jatishthyadini Prayashchitani Papakshaya Sadhanani Chandrayanadini. So let's stop there. Then we'll go to the Upasana part. What is Kamyani? Kamyani means what are these Kamya Karmani? What are these activities? Because he mentioned Kamya and Nisiddha, we have to abandon. Somebody says you have to abandon two things. You have to fire two people in your office. You are the HR manager. You are given fire two most inefficient people in the company. What would you ask your manager? You say, please tell me, who are these two guys? And what is the criteria for their, selection, for having identified them to be fired or to be promoted, either of the way? You need to know who. Similarly, we need to know what is this Kamya Karma, because he just mentioned the word Kamya. Therefore, because it's a Prakarana Grantha is not, it's Vedanta, same Anubandha Chatushtaya as for the Vedanta Sastra, but we are not proper students of Vedanta because we are not getting into Upanishad, we are getting into one Prakarana Grantha. So he has to explain each and every word. We are new students, therefore he is explaining. What is the Kamya Karma? Swargadi Ishta Sadhanani. So these Kamya Karmas are sadhanas, ways. That means to what? Have Swargadi Ishta. You have these. Ishta is what you want, what is desired. So different kinds of goals are there in life. You want to have a child. Utrishti Yaga you do. So, for example, Udvida Jajeta Pasukamaha. There is a statement in the Vedas. There is a Udvida Yaga. That's the name of a particular yaga. Pasukamaha. Somebody wants to have a lot of cattle folk. He wants to have large number of cattle so that he can do cultivation. He can have a lot of milk. In order to have that, traditionally, what would you say? He has to have land, he has to have money to buy these cattle and people to serve them, take care of them, manage them. But in Vedas, they mention no, but you need divine grace. So in order to do it, first you do the yaga, then you start doing these material external activities. You have to do them anyways. But with God's grace, you'll have showering of blessings so that you might get money, you might easily identify land, and you might get also good cattle to purchase. So you do that Udvita Yaga. Similarly, there are different yagas for different purposes. So there is a Soma Yaga, because it will come, I'm just mentioning it, and there is a Yotishtama Yaga. Yotishtama is actually, what is this stoma? Stoma is basically a kind of chanting of mantras. Stomas are there. And there are a few special types of stomas in the Soma Yaga. Once you do it, that is called Jyotishtoma. So, and there is a very elaborate distinction about them. What is this particular thing? You know, that is explaining what exactly we will go each and every one. What is this Kamya Karma? Swargadi Avishta, to do it, Jyotishtama Yaga. So, Jyotishtama is, and Kamya Karma he's mentioning, these are Kamya Karmas. Jyotishtama is the, there are four stomas which are called Jyotishtamas. Jyotis. What is this? Tripad, Panchadasa, Saptadasa, and Ekavinsha. These are numbers. Stoma means number of the slokas that are chanted during Soma Yaga. And they are called Yotis Stoma. Therefore, any yaga where these four types of stomas are included, applied, they are called Jyotishtama. Yotingsi Stoma Yatra Saha. So, this is essentially a Soma Yaga. What is Soma Yaga? You need to understand. There is a kind of plant, when you extract the juice out of it, it's very intoxicating. That liquid is sacrificed in the yaga. People say that it's now available only in certain parts of Kerala, maybe cultivated elsewhere. Now, this is called Soma Yaga, and a special type of Soma Yaga is Jyotishtoma Yaga. That much you have to remember. Okay. And to be able to buy the Somalata, these creepers, you have to have a young cow or a calf, you know. So, Arunaya Pingakhya. So, there are these rules that you have to take a certain calf, female calf, you go and you buy, and you have to have a certain negotiation with that person who is selling. You cannot raise Somalata on your own and do the yaga. No. So there is a particular rule, it's a ritual. You have to give a calf as a gift to the person from whom you buy Somalata, bring it. And then the priest, his wife, is supposed to play some role, and she's going to hammer it, and the juice is extracted. And there is a particular container in which this juice is kept, and this Soma Yaga is done. It's a very complicated ritual. So, this Jyotishtama Yaga, if you do, that means these particular Soma Yaga, which is known as Jyotishtama. So there is a particular form of Soma Yaga. If you do, you will go to Swarga. This is just one example. There are several such rituals there, but they are all Kamya Karmas, not only for Swarga Prapti, but also if you are a Pasukama, Dadna Juhoti Indriya Kama, you want more power for your senses. So there is a particular yaga for Indra Devata. Dadna Juhoti, you sacrifice curd or yogurt. So you sacrifice it. And there are certain rituals, certain mantras. Indra Devata would bless you. And there are details. Okay. You will abandon them. So briefly he's mentioning how to recognize what you would not do by understanding Kamya Karma. That what is Kamyani Swargadi Ishta Sadhanani Jyotish Tomadini. That much is done. Then we'll go, what is Nishiddha Karma? Okay. Nishiddhani Narakadi Anishta Sadhanani. So what is Nishiddha Karma? By doing which you will land up in hell. Okay. And what is this? Why you will go to hell? Because you are doing papas. Okay. So, what is the sadhana for going to Narka? God cannot send you to Narka or hell on his own sweet will. He's not going to do it. You have to be a person who has committed a lot of heinous crimes, such as maybe killing of a cow or hurting children and women. Those days, even killing a Brahmin who is a saint. Brahmin here would not be a person of a certain caste. We would say by Brahmin, the meaning should be somebody who is a saintly person, who is a monk, or somebody who is an academician, who is a professor. Those who are given to the business of knowledge, transferring knowledge to the next generation. Then Brahmana Hananadini. And what is Nitya is mentioning Nityadini Akarane Pratyavaya Sadhananini Sandhya Vandanadini. So, Nitya Karma, there are two ways in which to look at them. Nitya is you get up every morning, you have to make your bed, you have to go change your clothes, take a bath, wash yourself, brush your teeth. These are all Nitya Karmas. These are Laukika Nitya Karmas having significance for your Vaidika Nitya Karmas. You will do Sandhya Vandanadini. You have to do your puja, Sandhya, and Sandhya Vandana. There is a particular ritual. You basically meditate on purifying oneself, worshipping Lord, Sun God, and doing Achamana, Pranayama, Asana Suddhi. All these are there in the Sandhya Vandanas. Earlier, in earlier ancient days, perhaps this was done by both men and women. And brahmacharya, even thread ceremonies were held for both boys and girls in ancient days. Later on, it became, because there was, we have to accept that there was a bit of uh, kind of a rupture in the moral code of conduct, that women were relegated to household duties, and then they were not kind of allowed into the Vedic realm. That was at a later part, because you have Gargi, Maitri, all. So these are the Nitya karmas. Akarane, if you don't do it, you have Pratyavaya, you have dosha. But as I was telling you, that the later Vedantists accept that even Nitya karmas purify yourself. So there is positive. If you do Nitya karma, you have some positivity. If you don't do it, then obviously there is some punishment. And the best example is being punctual in the class and the office. Not necessarily an immediate good result, but it contributes to the efficiency of whatever you're doing. How effectively you're learning or doing your job, you have to be on time. Similarly, Nitya Karmas. What is Naimittikani Putra Janamadi Anubandhini Jatishthyadini? So, Naimittika Karma, so there is a particular nimitta, and therefore you are doing it. Like if you are becoming parent of a son, so you have to do what? Jata Ishti. Jati Ishti, there's a particular yaga, there's a particular ritual you do. Because I have got a child, I have to do this ritual. It's kind of maybe Thanksgiving. And then you have Shraddhas, and there are other things, Pitri Shraddhas and all, which are all Naimittika karmas you can mention. Prayaschitani papakshaya sadhanani. What are the prayaschita karmas? Papakshaya sadhanani. So by mistake, we have done certain activities. As I told you, that you do not want to sort of carry that baggage with you. Like, for example, there is a bad experience, whatever it is. You want to get rid of it. Sometimes, you know, what is it? There is something called intrusive memory. So there is a particular event, you didn't like it, but it has traumatized you, it has caused some pain in you. It keeps coming in again and again. It can be on account of a good experience you are not being able to forget, or a bad experience you are not being able to forget. These prayashchita karmas are certain psychological, self imposed disciplines, exercises, self imposed or self denial, you can call it, some exercises in self denial, which helps you beat that devil down, the devil of unwanted memory chasing you. So you are on a fast, and these things do work. So you are on a fast, and this Chandrayana that is mentioned here is, I was telling, relating to the waxing and waning of the moon, the intake quality and quantity of food, whatever you're consuming, would increase and decrease. and you'll do it for 1 or 2 cycles, and there are winding up exercises. So that is one thing. Or you can just go on fasting, you do some dhanam or whatever, but that is not very effective. The best one is actually doing penitential fasts. Okay, that is what he's mentioning. Papakya sadhanani chandrayanaya. Chandrayanadini. So Chandrayana is just one. There are many other prayaschitta karmas. Upasanani. What is upasanani? Upasanas are meditations. Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Vyapara Rupani. Saguna Brahma. So you have Nirguna Brahma, you have Chintana, Vichara. You are Upasaka, you are doing meditation on Saguna Brahma. In Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 7th and 8th, Bhagavan discusses this. Mam Ashritya, Saguna Brahma Ashritya. This person, he gets the awareness of the Nirguna Brahma, Nirvishesha Brahma, to be able to realize Atma Tattva is Nirvishesha, that Sarvatma Bhava. We need to first concentrate our mind. And in order to concentrate our mind, what we need to do is Saguna Brahma Upasana. And what is mentioning here? Sandilya Vidyadini. So Sandilya Vidya is discussed in Chandogya Upanishad chapter 3 and 14, 3, 14, 1 to 4. And there are beautiful meditation. What is a Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma? That is the meditation. There are 4 verses there. And there is saying that Sarvatmaka Brahman. One is I am Brahman in what sense? This body cannot be Brahman, right? So elevating your consciousness from the particular to the universal in very brief. That is Sandila Vidya, meditating on the self. Similarly, there is Panchagini Vidya, Vaishwanara Vidya. There are different meditations. And there are almost 32 Brahma Vidyas, meditations on the Atma Tattva. Omkara Upasana, Ahangra Upasana, many Upasanas are there in the Upanishads. So he's saying all these Upasanas, meditations you can do. Like japas, you are doing japa for some time, whatever, all these upasanas are useful. And why? That gives you ekagrata. Chitta Suddhi through Nitya, Naimittika, and Prayaschitta Karma. And then through Upasana, you have ekagrata. Then he's mentioning this. Etisang Nityadinang Buddhi Suddhihi Param Prayojanam Upasananam tu Chitta Ekagryam. So, 2 aspects of it. One is purity of the mind. The other one is additional benefit of focus, getting focused on that. And therefore, he's mentioning Etesang Nityadinam Buddhi Suddhi. So that is Antakarana Suddhi. Once you have Antakarana Suddhi, then you also sort of graduate and you know what? You try to um, build your inner capacity, your holding power. So you are holding power, you improve. And by holding it, you sort of improve yourself and you are sort of enabling yourself to be a good student of Vedanta. So 2 aspects, Antakarana Suddhi, and the second aspect is what is called Chitta Ekagryam. So you have to practice that. And he is mentioning that Chitta Ekagryam will come through the other kinds of sadhanas, and the two aspects of it. So Nitya Naimittika Prayaschitta Karma for Antakarana Suddhi, Buddhi Suddhi, and Upasana like Sandilya Vidya, Vaishwanara Vidya, or even japas and whatever you do, that is for Chitta Ekagryam. So they are mutually supportive. They're helping each other. And then there is a Upanishad sentence is mentioning Tametam Atmanam Vedanu Vachanena Brahmana Vividisanti Jagyena Danena Tapasa Anasakena. He's just mentioning half of it. Tam Etam Atmanam. They try to know this Atma, this Brahma Vastu. How do they know it? Brahmana, all these sadhakas, Vividisanti Jagyena. I have discussed that earlier in Bhagavad Gita. So Jagyena, Danena, Tapasa, Anasakena. Some commentators say that Jagyena is for the Grahasthas, Vedanu Vachanena, chanting, that is for Brahmacharis, So Vedanu Vachanena Jagyena Danena, that is Grihasthas. Tapasa, tapas, that will be done by the Vanaprasthis because they will do all these upasana karmas and prayaschitta karmas. And anasakena, anas fasting. The sannyasis don't eat much. They are supposed to live a very frugal life. So anasakena, they get know the Atma Tattva. Iti shrutehe tapasa kalamasam hanti ityadi smritescha. So through meditation, through these disciplining exercises, karma samhanti, that is same as prayaschitta karma, and through upasana. Tapas could also, tapas is what? Disciplining yourself, exerting yourself in order to wash away a lot of bad memories and all kinds of negativities. So you do tapas, ityadi smritescha, nitya naimittika prayaschita upasananam tu antakar, so avantara phalam. So nitya naimittika and all these karmas you do avantara phala. What is this? Chitta suddhi. Pitruloka satyaloka praptihi. Karmana Pitruloko Vidya Devaloko Ityadi Shrutehe. We'll take that up, that last sentence of it, tomorrow. This is the chapter, the paragraph 7. Let's do the Santi mantras. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
पूर्णमदच्छते
Purnat
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
Om
ॐ
Shanti
शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
Om
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः
Om Tat Sat. Have a good day. We'll meet again tomorrow.
ॐ